Alrighty, guys, welcome to tonight's charting session. It is October 1st. Happy October. It is Sunday. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. Hopefully, everybody has had a good weekend, ready to get back to it, get back to work, jump back in. So, tonight's session, we're going to go over kind of analysis of where we are in the charts, my overall bias going into this week. What are we expecting with news? What are we expecting to see possibly? Talking about going in October as well, and then anything after that you guys want me to check. Any trades that you guys took on Friday, we can review those, and we'll talk about that's pretty much it. And then anything else that you guys have questions for. So, first thing, let's take a look at NQ going into the week. Let's just take a look at where we are right now. So, looking at the weekly time frame, we have these equal highs being swept. We've been continuing to have displacement. We just rejected, now came back and swept that internal, and now we just tapped into this weekly fair value gap, which was our overall target going into last week and in the previous week. Pretty much going into September, I was pretty bearish pretty much all of September because I was expecting this to be the draw on liquidity. And so now the draw has been taken. So now it's time to see what we want to do after this. So we definitely have more room to the downside. We definitely don't need to bounce here. Keeping in mind as well, after sweeping this, this is a very small retracement in the big, grand scheme of things. If we were to mark out this entire range we have here, discount, it lies all the way back down here, right? So there's definitely still a possibility for us to go lower, and I'm kind of leaning that. But right now we're at a point in time where we need to let structure and action tell us what it wants to do. So first thing, we have this weekly fair value gap that just opened up. This is where I'm expecting price to retrace back to. I would like to see us retrace back into this weekly fair value gap and then possibly look to maybe see back lower. Zooming back into the daily, we've come down, we've swept internal, which makes me bullish, but I'm kind of leaning a little bit more bearish just because I would really like to see us sweep this internal low. A lot of the times when we come down and sweep this, we'll retrace back to this imbalance here that we did on Friday, and I'd kind of like to see us roll over just to take this low one more time, right? We have a really big imbalance here. I could definitely see us come over one more time to just form a lot more structure here on the 4-hour, and that's what I'm really starting to lean here, because notice, we've swept this sell side level. We're starting to really accumulate here, but we've gotten this move back up, but we haven't ran any of those imbalances to the upside, which doesn't give me confidence that we're going back to, these bigger highs, right? So depending on what happens tomorrow, I'm going to be leaning a little bit more bearish, but I'm going to have a pretty loose bias, right? The reason is because there's two different ways that I can look at this to be bullish or bearish. I'm more bullish in the sense that we're in a weekly fair value gap. We've swept sell side, right? I'd like to see these imbalances get ran through to the upside. But if we continue to hold these and respect this area, especially after sweeping this this internal high here, again, we marked out this earlier in the week, right? We had sell side of the curve. We were predicting this to be that manipulation move, and then we ended up getting buy side of the curve to take out that buy side level, as well as retrace back into that daily fair value gap. But this is what I'm watching right here. This is what I believe the draw on liquidity is going into tomorrow. We have a 4-hour fair value gap here. We have equal lows. This, to me, looks like a clear sell side level. Possibly what could happen here is I do believe that this is now buy side swept. We've gotten displacement to the downside, retracing back, depending on what happens in the overnight session, because market just ended up opening right now for that later session. So if we continue to hold this area, we could possibly look to sell back off, or we could come up one more time to sweep this internal high and then look to sell back off to take these equal lows later on. So going into this week, I'm actually going to do my bias is going to be pretty similar from last week, which is I like where we are and I like trading this internal range. We've been getting very range-bound internal action, like compared to where we were earlier where we were just trending down. I really like this action. When we get on a 1-hour or a 15-minute where we get internal trends and then we get reversals and then we get trends and then we get reversals, right? This is what I really like to trade. So I'm kind of hoping that we look to see us come back to the downside and kind of stick in this range. And that's going to make me focus more on those smaller time frames like we did this week, right? And we were rewarded for that as well. This week was pretty clean. We had really nice action, but I wasn't really focused on anything outside of the 15-minute or in the 1 hour. I was really zoned in on our internal ranges. So that's kind of what I'm going to be focused on going into this week and Monday too, is I'm going to be focused on more, again, on the 15-minute chart, looking to see internal trades. I've been really enjoying trading the 30-second and the 15-second recently, and I'm going to continue to backtest that and continue to trade it going into the next couple weeks and going into October as well. The reason I really like trading the 15-second and the 30-second is because there's a lot of opportunity with it. There's a lot of ways to trade internal models that I really like that I never have done before. But trading this week, there was a lot of setups on the 30-second and the 15-second that played out really nicely. So going into this week, I'm going to be continuing to look for those as well. But pretty much the main trade or main thing that I'm watching going into tomorrow is looking to see these equal lows get taken. So there's two ways that we could possibly trade this. Number one is, first of all, we're going to have to see what happens in the overnight session, right? I want to see, number one, are we going to continue to hold this imbalance area, or are we going to run through this and go to buy side? One of those, I don't really care which out happens. I would kind of rather us go up to run this buy side. If we can come up and run this high and still hold this daily imbalance, meaning we don't push through, and just blast off at the open, then I would look to take shorts later in the day and play that 10 a.m. reversal, right? And then I'd look to see a sell off. So that's a possibility, number one, right? Possibility is we run, slowly work our way up in the overnight session, look to sweep this, and then look to possibly sell to those equal lows, right? That's a possibility. Next possibility is we continue to hold this area and we have our internal break of structure. So let's say we come out, maybe sweep this internal high, and then we have, form, some kind of structure like this, right? Where I would see displacement through this low. At this point in time, I would zoom in here and say, hey, yeah, I'm looking to take shorts here now. I think the drawn liquidity is this. Now that we've gotten an internal sweep, we've gotten a displacement through a low. The only thing I need to see is displacement through some sort of low, right? We have a low put in. If we can get displacement through this, then it gives me confidence that the draw is here. So then at that point in time, I could be like, okay, we'll zoom into the 1 minute, and then I'll look to take some sort of internal model, up in this area targeting lower, right? Following my draw on liquidity. So the next opportunity could be just wait for this to actually be taken. If there's no trade targeting the draw on liquidity, you can always take the trade after it, which is the bounce, right? Because this is where we know liquidity is resting. That's why draw on liquidity is a thing. Looking at the 4 hour, we have a really nice 4 hour imbalance. If we come back to this, again, I'm looking to see if this holds or this gets ran through. If this gets ran through to the downside, we definitely go lower, right? We definitely go lower. And I really like this standard deviation that we have here. I really like this manipulation move that we have, and I would really like to see this kind of hold and see this 2 to 2.5 area, which lines up perfectly with that sell side level. So again, going to be focused on this internal range going into this week. Not going to be focused too much on the daily or the 4 hour, but instead be trading these internal models, because I really think that action is super clean and concisive and efficient lately. And a lot of the times it's intraday action, which is very efficient. So I'd like to take advantage of that. Don't be too swayed on those bigger time frame biases, but focus on the internal draw on liquidity and those internal trades, right? Especially when we have range-bound action like this on like a 1 hour. When the 15 minute is when you're going to get really good trades when we're like in this range. So I like to stay focused on those smaller time frames like the 15 minute, 5 minute. So that's what will be my main focus going into this week. So that's kind of my bias going into Monday on NQ. We'll see what happens in the overnight session, but I am leaning more bearish. I would like to see us come into this 4 hour imbalance. So this is where I think market's headed. We'll see if we get any sort of setup targeting that. Looking over at ES, two things that I'm watching for here. Looking at the daily, again, first thing, zooming out, focusing on that weekly. We are in this volume imbalance. We definitely could see a bounce back to the upside, and that is what I'm expecting. We have a huge weekly imbalance here. I'm expecting this to get retraced back to. On the daily, this is where I'm expecting price to go. We have this nice daily fair value gap. This is where I want to see us retrace back to. Now, notice the displacement on ES here versus NQ. ES has had a very nice follow through here under this level, right? Which makes me believe that we could definitely retrace back to this and then continue to sell off, right? It's a lot more likely for this to come up, right? And then continuing to sell off, right? Absolutely could see that possibility. But on NQ, we've kind of swept this level. We don't really have any sort of displacement here. So we'll see which one, ES or NQ wants to really take over and show, where we want to go. But I'm leaning short-term bullish going into the early week, and then seeing a continuation of the downside possibly later in the week is what I'm expecting. So we'll see what happens. Zooming in on ES, we've come up against kind of rejecting these order blocks. We've had big displacement of the downside. We're retracing back into this 4-hour fair value gap. We'll see if this ends up holding or not. Again, my bias, my bigger time for, or like my intraday bias is really going to depend on what happens in the overnight session. So we'll see. We shall see. All right, that's pretty much it on ES and NQ. Let's take a look at some other things. Let's take a look at gold. Looking at the 4-hour, actually zooming out to the daily here. Absolutely monster sell-off on gold. Very happy with execution on gold. I alerted shorts a couple weeks ago up here, and we've just absolutely tanked ever since then. So now on gold, though, again, zooming out to a bigger time frame, we could go either way here. Now that this intraday level is swept here, just looking at this action, I could absolutely expect us to hold and see displacement back to the upside. So I'm not really looking to take any sort of gold trade back to the downside, but more of see if we start to accumulate here at the lows and look to see displacement back to the upside or not. Any sort of gold trade here, I think, is going to be lower probability unless we get some more action here on a smaller time frame. Right now, just straight sell off to the downside. There hasn't really been any sort of trades. I mean, there might have been some internal trades here, but we do have these equal highs, which I eventually want to get targeted later, which we might get a setup for later on. But right now, definitely need a lot more structure to have a validated bias. Yeah, we can take a look at Euro. Euro is probably still bearish for now, following this trend. We're daily coming back into these lows. We kind of have equal lows here. Weekly, I'm guessing we have some sort of imbalance down here. Yeah, I'm expecting us to come down and sweep these lows. I mean, we already have. We have equal lows here. We'll see if this comes down to or not. There might be even a monthly here. All right, so this is where I'm really looking for here then. Is this monthly imbalance is what I'm looking for. So again, focusing too much, I don't want to focus too much out on that bigger time frame, but more of just using the daily as my bias. Daily came up, fair value gap rejected, right? Easy to say. What am I, bullish or bearish? Probably more bearish. Zooming into the 4-hour, fair value gap's now getting ranted to the downside. Would definitely want to see us possibly retrace back into this imbalance and then look to see some sort of internal model. But definitely bearish going into the week on Euro as well. For NQ, can we reach 4-hour sell side fair value gap first, then go to buy side? Could that be a possibility too? Yeah, absolutely. That could be a possibility. All right, let's take a look at news. So going into Monday. Okay, so I will not be trading tomorrow. Most of the time I won't trade Monday, but I definitely am not going to be trading tomorrow just because Powell's speaking at 11. So tomorrow is going to be a watch day. We won't be doing a live, but I'll be in the shadows just backtesting price and backtesting a scout model I've been working on. So we'll see how that goes. If you are trading tomorrow, do be careful, right? Especially going into the morning session. If we have Powell speaking and it is a Monday going into, again, October, it is the first trading day of October. I'm expecting slower action, right? So definitely be aware of that as well. Going into Tuesday, we have Jolts at 10. Not really too worried about that. We'll probably end up waiting that out on Tuesday. Wednesday, non-farm at 8. Again, that's pre-market. Don't really need to worry. And then 10 a.m. PMI. Don't really worry about that either. Thursday, we have unemployment claims pre-market, so we're pretty much good on Thursday. And then Friday as well, we don't really have anything. Not really worried about member speaking, but all of this is pre-market as well. So pretty much good. It's all pretty much only Monday is the only really big news day is just Powell speaking on Monday. So when you refer to a scout model, is that just signature and price that you look for open entry? No, scout model is a specific model that I'm backtesting for trading. It's a 15-second or 30-second model. How do you feel about trading overnight or at the market open at 6 p.m.? I don't like trading any sort of overnight action. I only trade New York open. I mean, it's not really creating a strat. I mean, technically it is. It's trading the strategy that we already trade, but just building a model around it, right? Like an actual model, right? So it's easy so when I continue to backtest it and I continue to add data to it and add experience and conviction to it, then I can bring it into the live sessions, right? And show you guys more confident aspects of it, right? Because the reason why we don't trade Mondays a lot is, number one, Mondays are my worst days. Number two, I give myself Mondays an opportunity to backtest certain things that I've been focusing on, right? Because a lot of times I don't like backtesting them when I'm doing live sessions with you guys, because I don't have enough conviction with the trades to alert them. So I'm not going to take those trades when I'm on live with you. But when I'm on Mondays by myself, I like to backtest it, either trading it like on an evaluation account, right? And just backtesting and building conviction with specific things that I've been looking for in price. Yeah, I can review anything you guys want. Any trades that you guys took on Friday, we can take a look at those as well. I didn't take any trades on Friday. Didn't really like where we are. Didn't really see any sort of high quality setups either on Friday. Didn't really get anything that I wanted. Oh yeah, that's the trade that Johnny took. Yeah, that trade was pretty wild. I mean, if I'm being honest, it's okay. Today, I mean, Friday action was just really choppy and really all over the place. If I'm being honest, I wouldn't have looked to just buy the stops here, like, and short this, to be honest. So I wouldn't have taken this. And a lot of the times you will not see price act like this, right? But you can see how clear the algorithm is, right? You can see how clear this is for us to literally come down, sweep sell side, instantly get bought up to buy side, take buy side, stop all those traders out, and then instantly just dump to that existing sell side level, right? So I would, no, for me, there's no trade here. But for you, there might be if you can build some sort of, model off of it or conviction for it. But did you get stopped out right there? Okay, so you didn't. Again, you're failing to understand. You're failing to understand what trade and what model you're taking, right? What the problem with this trade is, your entry and your stop loss and your PT, you're targeting an external buy side level, but you're trading an internal model. The internal model here is, this is the internal sell side being swept. You're taking this break of structure and this fair value gap. So your target for this should be this high. This is your buy side level, right? That is the internal model you're taking. So this entry, if you're targeting up here, your stop is way too tight for this. You're most likely going to get stopped. You're not going to catch this move. You're going to catch the internal model, right? Because that's what your entry is. If you're taking an entry on an internal model, you have to take at least some sort of contract off of what your price target should be, which is buy side of this internal range, right? Which is this high right here, which you would have gotten tapped right here. I'm thinking about getting an account with TopStep. Would you recommend getting funded over trading personal capital? Yes, I recommend getting a funded account over trading personal. Took long on inverse entry, 1202 on CL. Was that on Friday? Uh, 1202. Yeah, I like this. I like this. This is a beautiful scalp. Beautiful. Yeah, this looks great. Really good. Turn liquidity swept here. You get really nice displacement. All these highs get ran through with this. You get built up sell side. You get built up low resistance liquidity run, right? All these lows starting to stack up. You have a clear buy side level starting to form. You come down, sweep all these intraday lows, just big displacement back up. You play the inverse, looking along. Yeah, this is great. Great trade. Great trade. This is a high quality setup. This is a high rewarding setup. Most of the time, this will not fail. There's not a lot of times where you will see this come back to here and get stopped. This will work most of the time. So good trade there. Took one more question for you. What is the difference between having the set on or off in the bottom right trading view? The set? You mean the B that I don't know what set is. On daily and weekly? Oh. Oh, it just what is it doing? It's adjusting the close and the open of something. Use settlement as close. Okay, so keep it checked. Yeah, it was doing something like that. It's not really doing much. It's just giving you the it's just changing the open and close from yeah. I took this MES trade because I felt a limit order, or I left a limit order while at work by accident, but I decided to let it run. MNQ looked better. Yeah, this looks good. This looks good here. Yeah, MNQ looked a lot better. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Again, after this move, you should not be looking to take any sort of short unless you get a bunch more structure. There's no structure. There's not enough structure here. After this big move to the downside, there's no reason for you to take this trade here. Again, if I was to block out, right? If I was to block out like all of this action right here, and just like put this here, right? And you can't see any of this. This is just going to fake you out. This looks like it's going to continue, but it's a low quality setup because you don't have all of this other structure. Notice when we have this big, what happens after a distribution move, right? You have accumulation. So we get this all a big accumulation. So any short trade after this big move to the downside is going to be lower probability because you didn't wait for the accumulation. Can you go over crude long term? Sure. Let's check. Let's check crude oil long term. Again, oil is one of those things where I can't really tell you based off the chart because oil's just going to be based off of like news. Now, I would say that I'm more bullish on oil, but I would probably expect something like this. I'll probably expect something like this. I don't know. But again, yeah, oil's a news-based thing, so. All right. I think that's all I have for you guys tonight. If anybody has any last questions, keep in mind as well, we're coming back, just tapped into that monthly imbalance as well. So we'll see what happens going into the overnight session. I will not be trading tomorrow morning. If you are trading tomorrow morning, please do be careful. Yo, Justin, is it fair to say your scalp model is just a fractal version of your edge, or are you trying to test out new variations? That's a good question. I a little bit of mix of both. It definitely is a fract. It is an absolute fractal version of what I normally trade, which is just understand. So basically, the scalp model I'm working on is more of just execution through. It's basically scalping the draw and liquidity with the 15-second and the 30-second, but with internal models. With an internal model I already use on like a 5-minute or a 10-minute or a 15-minute, right? So technically, yeah, it is just a fractal version of what I already trade, but there is some other things into it as well. Yeah, it's more of just trading models on a smaller time frame and just building conviction with it and checking, the stops and stuff like that if it gets respected or not. And yeah. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you all tomorrow night because I won't be live tomorrow because Powell's speaking and it's Monday. So if you are trading, please do be careful. We'll go over the action tomorrow in tomorrow's session. So enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you then. Peace.